Hi, it's William Jumping from Learn Finance Free, and I want to talk a little bit about how a very specific problem, in fact. It's how we calculate first Sharpe ratio, and then why adding cash to investments will not change the Sharpe ratio, but rather will change information ratio. First, let's solve the problem of why it will not change the Sharpe ratio. All right? So let's get started. So first, if you do not know the concept of Sharpe ratio, let me quickly remind you of the Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio. Okay, so basically Sharpe ratio is how much extra return you are getting compared to a risk-free investment. So Sharpe ratio will give you the extra return when you compare it to a risk-free asset, right? Let's talk about information ratio. Information ratio. So information ratio means that you got more information. Okay, so that's real sort of like a criteria and measure how well your portfolio does, or when you compare to a specific benchmark. So extra return to a certain benchmark. So return, I'm going to use a B here as a benchmark. Right? So basically, the Sharpe ratio is risk-free assets as a benchmark, and the extra information ratio will choose, say, a portfolio index, a specific fund, something like that, as your benchmark. Okay, and when you add cash, things got interesting, right? So when you add cash first to a portfolio, when you calculate Sharpe ratio, and let's see whether it will affect information ratio. So think about this. Sharpe ratio is how extra return when compared to risk-free assets. So risk-free assets, say treasury bill, something like that, American treasury bill, pretty secure. And so basically adding cash is like adding a risk-free investment. Okay, so if you look at the formula of Sharpe ratio, let's just go a little bit quant here. Okay, the Sharpe ratio will be the risk return of the portfolio asset subtract, so it's extra return. Okay, so we got the risk-free rate, and we're going to divide it by the volatility of the portfolio. Okay, so this is the return of portfolio. This is risk-free rates of return, for example, treasury bill, and then this will be the standard deviation of your portfolio's return. Okay, so it's like the volatility. Okay, it's like standard variation is how volatile your return will be. Okay, so we sort of treat this as a risk. So it's for 1 unit of risk, we can get this amount of extra return. This is how our Sharpe ratio works. Okay, so let's deal with add cash to Sharpe ratio, because we need this formula to solve the problem like this, and then we will talk about information ratio, because Sharpe ratio will increase the return as well as volatility at the same time. Okay, so let's do something like this. So first, let's imagine a scenario. So we got the expected return of a certain portfolio, say A. Okay, so that will be 8%. And we got the standard deviation of that specific A portfolio will be, say, 15. And we got risk-free rate right now will be, say, 2%. Okay, so let's take the calculation of Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio now. So the Sharpe ratio of this specific portfolio A will be RA subtract risk-free asset divided by standard deviation of A. That will be 8, 2, and then 15. Okay, and that will give you 0.4. Okay, so this will be the Sharpe ratio. Okay, and once you got that, let's just change a little bit. Let's assume that we add some cash. And let's think about this. If you add a specific cash as a investment to this portfolio, it sort of like dilute the return. Okay, let's think about it this way. So if you add cash, say 20% cash to the investment, okay, and new portfolio, let me say portfolio B, all right? So portfolio B will be 80% that invest in portfolio A plus 20% invest in cash, okay? And if that's the case, first let's calculate something really simple. So return of portfolio B, okay? Portfolio B will be something like, 80% of portfolio A plus 20% of cash, and cash will be, say, risk-free rate, okay, and so I'm going to or not percent, sorry about that, multiply that by the risk-free rate. Risk-free rate is 20%, okay, so we got the I believe, let's do the quick calculation here. So point A, multiply that by the 8% plus 0.2 multiplied by 2%, okay? So it will be 6.8%, okay? 6.8%. And once you got that, you got the return, okay? You got a return, you want to calculate Sharpe ratio, you need to calculate the risk-free rate and virus. And how to calculate the variation here? Standard deviation here. So really simple. You have to use a little bit complex calculation. So we have to, luckily, already prepare a whole page for this calculation. So basically, SB will be, okay, there will be a lot of calculation here. So we got the weights of the asset A in the portfolio B, so weight of A, and we're going to square it, okay, and we're going to multiply the standard deviation of asset A, and then we're going to square it, and then we're going to plus the standard deviation of the cash. So weight of cash and square it, multiply, we don't need to multiply that because cash will have no, let's do the whole thing, okay? So multiply that by the standard deviation of the cash, okay? Cash. We're gonna square that and plus 2, multiply that by the weight A and multiply that weight of the cash, okay? And multiply by the standard deviation of A, multiply the standard deviation of cash. But also remember, multiply that by the correlation between the asset A and asset cash. Okay, this is just some formula for calculating the standard deviation of portfolio with two assets. Okay, so once you got that, we're going to bring in, so the weight is 80% squared, multiply that by the so the first standard deviation, I think is like 15%, okay, 15% squared and plus cash, okay, 15%. Cash is like 20%, sorry about that. 20%. Multiply that by the cash standard deviation. Here's some tricky part. Cash do not have a standard deviation because cash is a risk-free, so basically it's 0. So you can't retreat here. You saw this, you just cancel out altogether. Okay. So, and plus 2, multiply that by the weight of asset A, and multiply that by weight of asset B, multiply that by the, luckily we got this standard deviation of cash. It doesn't really matter. Let's just do the whole thing so you guys can know the process better. So the standard deviation is 15, multiply that by the cash, 0, okay? And correlation, normally the correlation of cash as well as a specific asset, I think cash is probably uncorrelated. Strictly speaking, everything is connected. Everything is gonna have some correlation. But right now, in a perfect world environment, we can just say that cash does not correlate, uncorrelated with our other assets. So luckily, we got all this canceled out. So we got something like this. Okay, so basically, 0.64. Multiply that by 0.0225. Okay, let's quickly do that. I think we can quickly get around by using a multiply that open. Yeah, let's quickly do something like this. Yeah, so I think it's I think 0.8, multiply that. We just need to use this 0.12 as the standard deviation of stand B. Okay, and quick way of doing this, because you square that and you square root it, so you just need to get rid of this 2 and then calculate that 0.12. Okay, so this will get our standard deviation of a B, which is the combination. Okay, combination of the portfolio. Okay, and we are going to calculate the Sharpe ratio. So Sharpe ratio of B will be the return of B, subtract the risk-free and the standard deviation of B. So the return will be, we already calculate that, will be 6.8. Sorry about that, 6.8%. Subtract the this is 2%. Okay, and we divide it by 0.12. Okay, so let's see the results. Okay, and so subtract that, we got 4.8, 0.12. I believe it's got so if you use 0.8 divided by 100, then divided by 0.12, so we got this 0.4 here. So the 0.4 Sharpe ratio should be the same if you think about the Sharpe ratio of A. 8% subtract 2 from 8 divided by 15, we get 0.4. But if you add cash, it will simultaneously increase the decrease the return of the portfolio B, because you decrease the return from 8 to 6.8, but you also, because you add cash, so the risk of the standard deviation decreased, so the whole Sharpe ratio keeps the same. Okay, so that's how why add cash to the combination of the asset does not change the Sharpe ratio. Okay, so basically you add it or you subtract from it, or what is even more interesting is that you borrow money, you leverage up, you still can get that specific return. So the Sharpe ratio is how extra revenue that you earn when you compare to the risk-free asset. So we consider risk, because if you borrow money, of course you got more return, but the risk is higher. So it kind of just the same. Okay, but information ratio is a little bit different. Okay, information ratio is about, let me just put information right here. So information ratio is about when compared to the benchmark. Okay, and add cash and or say like no cash at all, like fully invest, do like change the composition of the portfolio. Okay, so let me just give you another example. So normally, if it's you're calculating the information ratio, you invest in asset A, B, C, D. So for example, you invest say 20%, 10%, then 20%, then maybe 50%. All right. So if you invest more in cash, which means that you're going to change the investment in these 4 assets. So for example, you change that to say 40%, then you invest more to a new asset called cash. Okay, that would definitely change the information ratio because you are changing the formula for the specific combination when you compare that to the benchmark. Right? So the benchmark would still be say A, B, C, D. But if you add cash, you maybe decrease the specific composition, and then it definitely will change the information ratio. Okay? But if this is like scenario 2, if you change the aggressiveness of your combination, so let's think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, there's here. So A, B, C, D. So for example, 20, 10, and 20, and 50. So if you add all this up, you'll get 100% invested. Okay, but what if you just turn it down a little bit and invest all this in benchmark, and then just turn it down a little bit. Okay, so you are not going to invest 20% in A, just turn it down 10%, 5%. Okay, so 10% and say 25%. Okay, so basically you turn it down and invest the rest of it to, I say, if you're following a benchmark, and the benchmark say A will be like growth classified stock, then B will be classified as the the value stock. We got a pool of stock, right? You still invest all this category, but you just invest 15% of the handpicked by you stock, okay? But the rest of 50, you just invest that to the benchmark, okay? So the aggressiveness does not change, because if you invest all this in benchmark, you will just ignore this, and this is your sort of the discretionary accounts. Okay, even though you invest a pretty little amount, but still following the mandate, you just not invest the whole fund into that specific category. So you just say take out 50, the rest will just go to a like benchmark index, and then the rest of 50 I'm going to enhance the investment results, because I think if I handpick things, and it will be around return better than the benchmark. So you double it, or you just decrease a little bit, or even you just completely not do it. Doesn't really matter. The aggressiveness, you can even change it to 30%, something like that, or 40%. And then if you say, how can you get 20%? Okay, so 40%, about 100%. Okay, they give you 200. How can someone do that? Of course, you can do that. You just need to short the benchmark 100%. So you basically borrow money and invest more. So it's much more aggressive. So it's much more aggressive. And this will be like 100% aggressive. Then it's less aggressive, 50%. But that does not change what you invested. You still need to consider things. If you got a pool of assets that classify as A, I still need to handpick the targets company I need to buy. Okay, so that still reflects how you choose. So the how you choose, we use the information ratio to sort of as a criteria of whether you are doing good, doing well, or not. Okay, so that aggressiveness does not hide how good you are, even though you just say invest tiny little, that tiny little can still have a benchmark and the information won't change. But if you add cash, it will just change the composition. So definitely, because add cash is sort of like you invest a specific asset to these cash criteria. So that would definitely change information ratio. That's a quick explanation of why, okay, I think it's a serious problem of adding cash will not change the Sharpe ratio and will change the information ratio. But added aggressiveness or reduced aggressiveness will not change information ratio, okay? But add cash will change the information ratio, okay? I hope that clarifies things. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, okay? Thanks, bye.